I loved everything about that book, so that was a great beginning. But reading objective accounts about the life take you so far. Most of what becomes more interesting to me at a certain moment is to try and grow towards a subjective understanding of that man's experience, whoever it may be. And in that case, the legacy of his writing was hugely important. You get such a sense of him through it's wonderful, not just his speeches, but also stories that he told. And there are many contemporary accounts of those stories, which one assumes are fairly accurate, I mean, give or take. But to get a sense of his thought and the movement through his thought towards a conclusion, that's a unique treasure, really, to have that available. It's the man himself that invites you, because he was so open, and that was one of the most beautiful surprises of getting to know him was how insanely accessible that man was. At the time, it was actually physically very dangerous, in his case, to be accessible, but the White House was, an ever-open door. People could come and go. I think it was Seward that probably finally said enough already, because his open houses were just it was bedlam in there, and he was accessible, and some part of him was. So that became an opening in a way. I think one almost felt welcomed, and so really he put me at my ease, strangely. Having first made me very uneasy, it was him that put me at my ease and gave me the thought that, well, maybe I could try to do this. In such a rich way had Tony already suggested the man through his intellect, through his humor, through his melancholy, both domestically and in public office. The contrast between those two things, which is always something that's like food and drink to me. You see somebody whose life is lived at one and the same time in that strange paradox of public and private. The best thing I can say is that it was easy. I mean, it was what it needed to be in the very best sense. I enjoyed every moment that I spent in her company, even when we were tearing each other's eyes out. I enjoyed every moment of that because she was real to me. Tommy Lee Jones, who I've not worked with before, and apart from a shake of the hand, I'm not sure that we really had a conversation outside of the work, but it was, I don't expect to have a day's work that excites me as much as that day did. He seemed so completely open and fluid and trustful of the work. And I'd say that was true of every working relationship in the film. Not quite sure what to do with yourself when it's finished. The investment has usually, for most of us, been if not total, then close to total investment of that period of our lives in the process of telling that particular story. So it's very hard to conceive of any kind of a life after it. Of course, there is one waiting, usually quite impatiently. But in this particular case, I felt two things at one and the same time. One was a sense of immeasurable privilege at having been enabled to explore that man's life. And the other, directly as a result of that, was a sense of great sadness and loss that time allowed me was now over. because he did become, for me, there's never been a human being that I never met that I loved as much as him, ever. I doubt there ever will be. We worked together really for the best part of a year, which was a godsend between the time that we shook hands on it and the time that we began to shoot the film. A full year had elapsed, and I didn't need to know anything more about him after that period of time. I just couldn't wait to start. Each day, certainly on this, presented great challenges, and that's the food and drink for all of us. That's why we love to do it. But I think it's a mistake to allow any sense of self-importance to creep in about what you're doing. Of course, if you began to think about the subject that you're taking on, in the case of Lincoln, you'd never get out of bed. You would just let somebody else do it. So in a way, I think you have to, I think you create for yourself a certain irreverence. It's not disrespectful, but it's just necessary to be able to do the work. It's just open. The best thing anyone can ever be in any creative workplace is open, and to have that that degree of openness alongside his sense of structure is a pretty powerful combination, because he can do the structural work standing on his head. I think that, I don't know if it comes easily. He makes it seem like all great men. He makes it seem as if it comes easily.